Hey everybody, Jeremy in Post here. I finally have access to DALL-E, so we're going to dive into that. As you can see, I already created some things here. So yeah, the way it works is that you have 50 credits to start with, and from then it's 15 credits every new month. So we'll go ahead and clear this. Here's what happens when you are done with the session. You can hit new. It's kept a pretty good log of my history and various things that I've created. So I want to make sure that I take anything that I liked and want to possibly use in the future and just download it. And they're pretty small files, like a usable small file size, but we'll get into that. I will go ahead and start a new session. And at this point, I just have one text prompt line, which is fantastic because as you can see in something like NightCafe, which is something that I've spent a lot of time using, you have your text prompt, but it also asks for modifiers. It's got these various text lines, like my eyes just kind of gloss over straight to the text prompt and then the big picture, because that's what my eyes look for, pictures. So there's a lot more input stuff here versus DALL-E, one text line, that's awesome. And then some examples. But it has the surprise me option. To lessen that surprise and also conserve my credits, I'm going to go ahead and use artprompts.org, which is a fantastic source if you're ever running low on inspiration or just want to explore and get outside of your own head. Roman chariot driven by 2 Komodo dragons. You know what? I think we lucked out on our first idea here. So I will give it something like this. This is a pretty clear idea, but there's a multitude of ways that you can draw this. So again, to conserve credits, I'm going to think of how I would want to express this. And when people talk about like the death of actual arts, AI is going to take over. It's like, no, it's not. It's going to be a different tool, and it will be the job of artists to understand the parameters. And I could see this being actually 2 different jobs. It's the job to understand the parameters and how to speak the language of these new AIs in order to achieve the best results as efficiently as possible, because we'll still be using servers and there will be some sort of a budgetary constraint to go along with creating this stuff. And then on the back half, and we'll go over this more, it's going to be the job of an artist to go ahead and composite these things, because sometimes you're going to have elements of one piece that work well and then elements of another, and you're going to have to mash those 2 together to achieve something really great. And as this extends into video, there's going to be a new VFX realm to be explored. It's kind of already in play, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's just see what a Roman chariot driven by 2 Komodo dragons. And the way that I want to do this is I want that Roman chariot driven by 2 Komodo dragons to be like coming at the camera in a hyper real, or maybe just photorealistic fisheye point of view. Maybe runs toward camera in a, might misspell this, there are probably 2 S's. Oh boy, wow, did I mess that up? Okay. Or maybe not, I don't know. What is the difference between a Coliseum and a Coliseum? Oh, so I actually kind of nailed it. Well, there you go. It's got some information to pull from there. A little more detailed than what we had before. We could have run with that original description just to try it, but I'm telling you, in my experience with AI, instead of searching for what we want, it's better if we have any sort of artistic vision to go along with that prompt, to just try to express that. And, if we hear those words, a Roman chariot driven by 2 Komodo dragons, or if you have a creative brain, which most of us do in some sense, you get an image of what that's going to look like. And here's what mine looks like. Let's see how the AI interprets that. As you can see, it's pretty fast. If you've used NightCafe or Midjourney before, then you know that you input the text, you run it, and you can check back later. It's a long enough wait that they'll send you an email. Yeah, okay. Roman chariot. Okay. So here's where we get to refine, because this is pretty close to what I was expecting or envisioning, I guess. I like this a lot. I dislike the distortion around the edges. I think this is cooler. I'm not sure where it's getting this line, but this is sourced from all sorts of images, right? And then it just tries to make as coherent a final image as it possibly can. It's missing a detail that I had in my head, which is a gladiator driving that chariot. So I'm gonna add that into our description now. And I could try to edit one of these to work. I'm not in love with any of them particularly, so I'm just gonna try again. Gladiator drives a Roman chariot driven by 2 Komodo dragons, running toward camera in a coliseum. Photorealistic, fisheye, POV. I think it nailed all of that stuff. I think it's a pretty clear visual. I know that the internet has plenty of resources to put together this image. So let's just go ahead and run it. Yes. Okay. All right, let's run through these and just kind of have a breakdown of what's working. This, I think, is, even though the gladiator's not super clear, and actually the cart's not really clear. God, this is a really good impressionist image. Like, it fits the most in my mind's eye of how this was supposed to look. This one's cool. Got a lot of good detail. It almost looks like the stands are full of people. We just don't have enough resolution to clearly express that. And, you know, no color variation. So I could be wrong there. Those could just be walls. But the dragons are really cool. I mean, look at those claws. And that's what AI is doing really well right now, is giving you like the gist of an image. Okay, this is the least well composed. Still, the basic idea is there. And this reminds me of, like, I don't know, old Mist graphics or something. Those are really cool textures. They're almost like rock textures that are pulled in. Anyway, my breakdown of this would be that this is the best image. And I would just want to refine it a little bit more. One of these two, but having the subject out of frame like this, I'm not a big fan of the composition. This, at least we have the eye, we've got the gladiator. You know, it almost looks like it's biting us behind the camera. Let's see if we can get variations of this image. So I have 2 options once I've actually created an image. One is edit and the other is variations. Edit, I can go in and take portions of the image that I'm not a fan of and try to get different iterations of those. I haven't had great luck with that. A lot of times it's looked like it's just kind of slapped on. I haven't done super precise work with the edits, but in my mind that kind of defeats the purpose, because then I might as well just download it, take it into an image editing software, and, you know, then spit out my own version that I have more control over. And that's a really interesting argument with all of this stuff, is like drawing the line between where we need control and where we need efficiency, and just to kind of surrender ourselves to the resources that the globe has accumulated in the digital realm, right? So for now, I'm just gonna try variations, and this is where kind of the cool play aspect of this comes in, because we as artists, and we're all becoming mini directors at this point, just get to go variations, let it run again, and it's gonna give us a new selection that we can pull from, and it's 4 at a time. And that's probably just to keep, you know, server usage down. If this does scale up, it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Okay, kind of went the other direction with all of this. So this, you can see, is really impressionist. I guess I didn't give it too much of a style. You know what I didn't do? Okay, all right, that's my bad. Because style-wise, it's just kind of doing whatever the best fit is. But what I'd really like to do, I want my original description back, and it seems like that has been left behind. Let me see. Okay. So I am going to give it a new element. So I wasn't in love with any of those. I think the style was off. I'm going to give it cinematic. I found that cinematic, photorealistic, and atmospheric helps a lot and provides some depth and information that can give us good results. So here we go. Generate again. So I think it's taking 1 credit per run. So if I do a new prompt, it's a credit. If I do an edit, that's a credit. If I do variations, that's also a credit. So, you know, I've been playing for a little bit, probably about an hour. I've burned through 9 credits. So it's something that, like, you want to conserve these as much as possible. I'm not sure what the cost is. I'm not sure if they're even selling them at this point. But yeah, just something to be aware of. Wow. Okay, so now we're getting something a little different. But I'm going to keep saving these. They're not huge files. I think they're about 2 megs a piece. They're 1024 by 1024. So I'm going to save that. Not a big fan of this. I really like the sky element that I pulled in. But see the ground? See the texture doesn't really have a depth that matches. And so we get this kind of collage effect with a lot of AI software. This one has a lot of it too, where it's pulling in a rock texture to accomplish this lizard, dragon, whatever. You know what I mean? Wow. This is cool. I mean, this is kind of that collage effect that I was talking about too, but I think it's done really well. And let's just go ahead and open this up. And you can see, like, there's not a lot of detail in the face. Over here, you can tell that, you know, this is an image that's been really sourced. Like, it's also using the ancient Colosseum because there are definitely a lot more photos of ruined ancient Colosseums than you know, artistic depictions of them in action. I love seeing the variety, and it's such a great way to explore. At the very minimum, if you have a creative director or a client that's not sure what they want, being able to, on their side or your side, jump into an AI program like this or an AI client server and just start exploring is so fantastic as a creator, that somebody can come to you and be like, hey, I really like this. I like these elements of it. Can you either create something from scratch that looks very similar to this, or can you edit this in a way that will make it usable for my final product? So I'm a big fan, and I plan to continue exploring DALL-E, NightCafe. NightCafe is great because they just give you credits every day and you can kind of collect them. And I haven't been using it every day, so I've just been acquiring these credits. And that way, when I do want to explore without fear of running out or limiting myself because of like a budgetary concern, I can just really indulge myself. So anyway, that's been my impression of DALL-E. Kind of rambling, kind of just meandering through the software. It's my first impression. If you want to see some of my original art, follow me on Instagram. I don't post too much anywhere else. And yeah, thanks for watching.